morning, everybody. My name's Darryl and I'm Alan's older brother. This has been the worst week of my life, since this has been a massive loss, not only for our family, but for this community and for this world. There's nothing natural about a young woman losing her husband, young children losing their dad, or parents losing their child. A piece of us died last week, and we have emptiness in our hearts. I developed such a strong brotherly bond with Alan over my entire life. We were very close, and he understood me better than anybody, and now he's gone. Alan's passing, however, has caused me to reflect and truly appreciate the amazing life my little brother has built up in his relatively short time with us. Alan Desmond da Silva was born on June 1st, 1982 at the Royal Alexandra Hospital in Edmonton. He was 3.5 years younger than me, and one of my earliest childhood memories is my dad getting me ready in a hospital gown and going in to see him as he lay with my mom. I was so excited. I loved having a little brother. I loved being a brother. Growing up, we did everything together. I remember my dad getting him to ride his bike for the first time, playing hockey, soccer, sliding down the stairs on our chalkboard, trips to India, family parties, and of course, relentless teasing. And despite what he may have told you, I wasn't that big of a bully. Except for the time I was lying on the couch and he was crawling along the top, pretending that I was a dread. I wanted him to stop irritating me, which is nothing new. But he persisted. After I gave him a good whack, he fell off the couch and went head first into the coffee table. He's reminded me about that often, but what I didn't tell him was how terrible I felt to give him that scar above his eye and see him in pain that day. I never wanted to hurt him again, and I also wanted to say I'm sorry. Yes, you heard right, Alan. I'm sorry. He went to elementary school in Catherine Therian and Bishop Savrin, junior high at St. Cecilia, and high school at Archbishop MacDonald. He built relationships with many people and was involved in everything. Student council, music, chess club, he played in a band, he was involved in church, he was a lifeguard, he loved science, he graduated as valedictorian, he won leadership awards, and more. In addition to being a well-rounded, self-proclaimed geek, he really was a kid at heart. He loved watching cartoons, reading comics, had a passion for dinosaurs, and of course, the Ninja Turtles. When we were in India, he was so excited to see DNA structures in a children's playground that he, as a grown man, climbed on top of them and made me take a picture of them so he could show his students. Alan also excelled academically. He went on to university and obtained his Bachelor of Science and received his PhD in experimental oncology last November. During that time, I know World Youth Day, church group and retreats, his business group and his students brought great meaning to his life. My parents poured everything to the both of us, building a foundation of religious, family, and educational values. We were an extremely close family, and Alan and I saw things through the same lens. My heart is filled with so many more stories, and they will be told in time. It's just very hard to lose the only other person who shared those experiences. It was also during university that he met Renee, his soulmate, the person that brought great meaning to his life. I remember when he first told me about her and spoke about her was his admiration and excitement. I had never seen that side of him before and didn't understand it, but got it when I saw them together. She connected with him in a way nobody had before and really inspired him to do great things. One of the memories I cherish the most is when Alan, my wife Priya, traveled together in South India. Not only did I reconnect with him after being out of town for 6 years, Priya developed a strong sibling bond with him, and both Priya and I developed a bond with Renee, even though she wasn't there. We were with him when he bought his engagement ring for Renee, and he insisted on buying it in India. I still remember the expression on his face and the look in his eyes when he held the ring in his hand for the first time. He made us feel special by sharing the moment with us, which is what he does. Alan married Renee in 2008, and God blessed him with 2 beautiful children shortly thereafter. Gabe is almost 4, and Anju is 2.5. Growing up, Alan was the same as the time he left us. He had great respect for elders, always saying yes, Mom, Dad, much to their delight. Did anything for his family, had a generous heart, made friends wherever he went, and he had an infectious laugh and a smile. He also never complained. When we were young, I remember he was sick for the first half of his life with respiratory issues, and he never usually slept through the night, but I don't recall him ever complaining. He just dealt with it. The last time I saw Alan in December was just another example. We booked an early flight on December 31st, and despite not having much sleep with the kids the night before, he drove us to the airport in the morning. He didn't say much. I thought he was just tired. But as we were pulling up to the airport, he started vomiting. Not only did he try to contain his nauseousness for the first half hour of the drive to the airport, but he continued driving the last 30 seconds to get us to the front door. After he cleaned himself up to meet us, after we checked our bags, we exchanged our last hug. And he apologized for not being able to spend more time with us at the airport before we left because he was in the bathroom sick, cleaning himself up. He always gave all he could for those he loved. That was the last time Priya, Lily, and I held Alan. It was a symbolic final moment for us. Alan and Renee had an incredible bond in marriage. They inspired each other, and most importantly, they didn't take what they had for granted. They made the most of their time together, which is great. Renee really did inspire Alan to do amazing things. His obituary reads, husband, father, son, brother, friend, educator, entrepreneur, biologist, scientist, funny man, self-empowerer, mentor, leader, and musician. He lived a life of service to his family, to the church, to his friends, students, and his business. I'm very proud of him for the things he's accomplished. I've had a chance this past week to reflect on his past speeches, valedictory address, and blog. Anyone who reads it understands he had a wisdom beyond his years. I can't get myself to read the Facebook comments quite yet, but Priya told me it describes what a man's accomplished over 60 or 70 years, not just 30 short years. I've been told the words people are using to describe Alan and the outpouring of stories show the depth of my brother and his character. He was filled with the Holy Spirit and reflected Christ in every person he met. He spoke to me early on about leaving a footprint in this world. His recent blog was titled Life of Influence, which is something most of us don't usually think of at 30 years of age. But he really did accomplish that much in such a short amount of time. I shamefully admit that I had no idea of the magnitude of his influence until this week. He motivated couples to stay together, students to pursue higher education, people to start a business, and he motivated people to love, help, and elevate one another. Alan was never too busy to listen, too stressed to help, or too preoccupied to encourage. Yesterday I met many people that Alan had really touched, and 2 conversations really stood out to me. The first conversation was with the gentleman that he spent the last personal time with, and that last hour he really was motivating that young man. He went through several difficulties in life, and what Alan was doing was lifting his spirits and motivating him to do better things. He touched him that day in his last moments of life. Another conversation was when one of his old students came up to me and talked about Alan, the professor, a side that I've never seen. He explained how the students loved having Alan as a prof, which I could see. Always made time for the students, and even when he was doing his PhD, he always stopped to listen and help. I saw the sparkle in his eyes as he told the story, and it made me very proud. He touched that student, as well as many other students, I'm sure. I've really been struggling to deal with Alan's passing. I can't understand why God decided to take a person so good, so young, who had done great things and was ready to do so much more. With God, strong values, family support, this church's support, leadership mentorship support, and his PhD in hand last November, he was ready to take on the world. The only thing that calms me for a moment is that our faith leads me to believe that this is part of God's ultimate plan. I saw Alan's life as an inspiration to people, and I see already that this loss is having people reflect on the way that they want to live. He was a phenomenal spouse. He expressed his love to those close to him. He was a great parent. He made the extra effort to spend time with family and friends. He always smiled, and he always answered the phone with a smile. And he passed along knowledge to others. He'll continue to inspire his wife, his children, his family, and all those he touched. Alan, you've left your footprint. Alan, the experience that I'm really going to miss the most is just being able to sit with you. You understood me like no one else did. You knew when to talk, and you knew when I just wanted to be silent instead. It will take me time to accept and understand that you're no longer with me, but you're sitting with me in a different way now. We'll still be able to understand what's in each other's heart without saying a word. I know what your wishes would have been if you passed, and I'll do my best to honor that. We'll all do our best to honor that. We love you, and you'll be missed.